Aloha, friends, family, and tribe, stewards of the land and the soul. Welcome to another episode of A Dose of Positivity, where I have the great privilege to interview these passionate change makers, thought leaders, social and environmental innovators, and wellness professionals. And I'd like to remind you, if you're listening live, welcome to everybody, to put your questions and comments in the chat. We try to get to every one of them each and every time, and we appreciate your input. And if you are new to the show, you can watch the replays on our YouTube channel, which we'll put in the chat here, and also on our podcast stations, wherever podcasts are broadcasted, so you can listen or watch. It's your choice. And then also a reminder for a daily dose of positivity, for you to join our Facebook group, which we'll also put into the chat. And we encourage everybody who is in our Facebook group to put your daily dose of positivity into the mix. Share something bright and wonderful, warm and loving. We could all use that in these tumultuous times we're experiencing. And the more we spread love and kindness from the soil to our souls, the better the world will be. And if you wish to receive incredible emails with blogs I write every week, make sure you put your email in there as well. And I want to welcome all the new people to the live show and remind you guys that you are awesome. And every week before I interview our special guest, which today is Phillip Mountrose, and him and his wife are incredible. And he is going to be speaking to us about powerful and profound approaches to holistic spiritual coaching and healing, with a holistic approach of several different modalities that him and his wife have been doing for several decades together, including some EFT, which is Phil, come in and remind me what EFT, I always say it wrong.
Yeah, emotional freedom techniques. It's not exchange fund transfer. That's another EFT. It's emotional freedom techniques. It's an energy healing, tapping meridian pressure points.
Super cool. And so he's going to show us some samples on how we can all tap into this beautiful EFT technique. That's part of what we're going to be doing hands-on, like we do each week on these episodes. But he'll be showing it to those of you who are watching it on the replay on YouTube, and you'll feel it when you're listening to the replay also on the podcast. So we'll be talking about how to tap into your success, your love, and your happiness. And also thinking about this question right now before I break into my read. Ask yourself, are you here for a reason? Do you want to accelerate your spiritual growth and make a difference? And are you looking for a holistic spiritual approach to healing with powerful tools and approaches to transform your life and other lives? And I took that off of Phil's website because I think that is super important. As I read this passage from my book, Living Like the Future Matters, and before we bring Phil on, as people are coming into the live discussion. So this is from my book, again, Living Like the Future Matters. And I want you all to be thinking about this, because lately, with things of late that are going on in the world and everything we're hearing about autism and just anxiety and depression, stress, reflecting on the past and pulling out the best of the past is a really good thing to do. And that's when we're doing the EFT, we get to that place. So I chose this story called Flashback, my 40th high school reunion. And I know some of you listening aren't even 40 yet, and you will be. And I want you to really take these words to heart. There are times to reminisce about the past, and there are times to appreciate the future. Being stuck in the past can make us depressed. Living only for the future, on the other hand, makes us anxious. By being present and living like the future matters, we can live in peace. So this is about I don't know, a long time ago now, at least 5 or 6, 10 years ago, I went to my high school reunion. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, 8 years ago. So here goes. I'm just going to read part of this, okay? So sit back, get your beverage, relax, be calm, because that is all part of this awakening. And my soothing voice, may it help you be present. My flight took off in the early morning. I got comfortable in my window seat, computer in hand, prepared to write until we landed. I was flying from Newark, New Jersey, back to my home in Hawaii. It was the fall of 2014. I was 57 years old and had gone back east to attend my 40th high school reunion. As the plane traveled west, we gained daylight hours and moved through several time zones. The weather was stellar across the country, and I recapped my 7 days in Jersey, reminiscing about the good times and coming to peace with the heartaches. Seeing old friends conjured up memories, both meaningful and otherwise. I did my best not to pass judgment on some of my classmates who appeared older than their years. Decades of living an unhealthy lifestyle immersed in corporate culture or unfulfilled marriages had taken their toll. With others, I rejoiced. We shared our longevity secrets and our achievements and the stories of our children at the Closter Elks Club, where our modest reunion took place. It was hard not to revert to the child I had left behind. I want to encourage you all to, and actually we'll put this story in our Facebook group and all across our social media to read the rest of this. But it was a really awakening time for me. And each and every day is an awakening time for all of us. And for me, when I think about bringing someone on like Phil, who is, and I'm going to introduce you to him right now because it's awesome. Like the work he does and how he brings people forward is just absolutely stunning, him and his wife. He is a pioneer and an innovator in the realm of spiritual growth and healing. Phil and his wife, Jane, are holistic coaches. They're energy healers. They're energy healing pioneers. They've been around for a while. And they're also authors of numerous books, including their new book, The Loving Power of the Soul, which is a beautiful book, which we'll get into later. It's a guidebook for realizing our true potential. And the mission of their institute, which is called the Awakening Institute, which is a nonprofit, it's there to facilitate the unique gifts that each individual can bring to the table, to receive the honor and the respects and their gifts so that they can blossom. Like, how do we bring it out and not regress like I did when I went back to New Jersey? How do we bloom rather than decompose? So Jane and Phil have their website is gettingthrough.org, which we'll put in the chat. And he is going to open your mind. Our last guest speaker, if you didn't hear, Radhavar, who's 83 years old, spoke about awakening her journey. So Phil, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to share this and to share some of these modalities of healing with our audience. And congratulations to you and your wife on your new book and all the achievements you guys have done. And everybody in your own way, give them a big round of Philip, big round of applause. Yay, much love to you, gratitude. And would you please, let's start out the conversation, Phil, on how you discovered this the line of healing modalities that you guys have been doing for years. You're pioneers in this, and how it has affected your own personal life.
Well, aloha, Donna, and thank you for inviting me, and aloha and hello to everyone listening live and on replay. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to go deeper, to be present, to make a difference now in this moment, in the rest of this connection we have together and going forward. And I want to share some interesting information, some connections, some love, and some practical tips and ways to heal yourself so you can get the most out of living your life. And that's what our journey and my mission, and as you mentioned, our nonprofit organization, Awakenings Institute, is all about. And years ago, Donna, I was very interested in spiritual awakening. Some people, like myself, are interested very early on. And some people, it takes a while. And midlife transition, crisis, illness, disease, divorce, death, etc. That may be the awakening event or events. But early on, I was realizing in my 20s, I wasn't who I thought I was. I wanted to help or change the world, but I realized I was really kind of an immature person who had overestimated myself. I was going to be a film director at UCLA Film School and realized that, that wasn't probably the right thing for me. And that sent me on a spiritual journey where I eventually met my wife and partner, Jane Mountrose, in a spiritual school, an awakening school, Gurdjieff Ouspensky school in the 1970s at that point, which was talking about remembering yourself, which was their term for awakening. And it's a wonderful thing, which is really connecting with your soul, which we're still doing and learning now more about new every day, which means being here now, being aware of yourself, getting the most out of this moment. And in this group, although it was very valuable, and some of the things I've learned and taught and still use in our courses and our books, one thing that was really missing, Donna, was this idea of healing. There was an idea in the group of not expressing negative emotions, which maybe on the surface sounds good or spiritual, but in practice, it meant repression. It meant being very fearful of expressing yourself, even when you have negative things that are coming out. I mean, obviously you want to do that selectively. So that when we left the group, in the spiritual group and all the things that go with spiritual groups and cults and shaming and all that, the common pattern, which is still going strong on earth today, as you know. But when we left that group way back in the 1980s, we knew we needed to find out, in order to spiritually awaken, you needed to do the healing part. And I'm getting the kind of some of the holistic EFT and some of the original healing processes we developed over the last couple of decades. So we started studying things like holistic hypnotherapy, and NLP and energy healing came into our awareness as part of the spiritual growth. And we were early adopters of EFT, the energy healing technique, the tapping technique, which looks like we're going to talk about and demonstrate a little bit in a minute here. And that came up. It's really part and parcel of awakening. And some people do it more like we'll do the energy healing. Some people are more kind of active warrior people who may do it sort of by practices or external activities. And it may be a combination, walking in coal or whatever you're doing. But at some point, sooner or later, for spiritual evolution, you do address these wounded parts, these parts that need healing for integrating and becoming whole. And you can do that actually with your soul, which is what we were doing, not just going into the light and I'm just activating and being in the light. You need the parts that the light is showing you, the shadows, which is interesting because we've got how many billions of people on earth and everyone is traumatized. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing to consider. It's sort of hiding in plain sight, and if you kind of pause and reflect on that, it can give you a lot of compassion to yourself and everyone, that people are more or less ailing. And since it's not status quo I kind of call CNN. It's not talked about in CNN. It's what do you do with it? It's a hot potato. I don't know what to do with it. You stuff it, you pretend it's not there. And at a certain point, you can't pretend it's not there in the spiritual evolution and the spiritual growth. And then you want to address it. And then you want to find some effective ways to do it. In holistic EFT, that's our brand of the tapping technique, emotional freedom techniques, is one of the ways we do it. And we do another one, spiritual kinesiology, and others as well.
You know, I'm loving hearing your history and what everything that you're saying, because even though there's such a history of this, and when you look at the indigenous cultures, right?
Yes.
And you look at the dances, the rituals, the things, that the beat of the drum, like the tapping, right?
Mhm.
And their closeness and their connection to nature, and being in the elements, the fire, the wind, the rain, the storms, and really connecting with the gods, which again, shaming gods, or just worshiping what keeps us alive. And you, like you said, this whole CNN thing, which just, again, that like spurs me on. It's kind of like, you know, who are we listening to? And who told us we should listen to the CNNs? And why are we walking around with the highest rate of depression and anxiety that we've ever experienced? And I like to say almost on every show, the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to true nature, our true nature. And we have gone so far away, and all these modalities, I love them. Like my main focus when I work with clients is nature therapy, getting people's hands in the soil, you know, and getting back more into those indigenous, like I love the tapping thing, you know, or just the meditation or the Eastern philosophy of just becoming more Zen, right? It's so important.
Right. If you're merging with the elements in the earth, that's very healing by itself. And it's also quite meditative and can put you in a deeper state too, which is part of the indigenous healing approach as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I really appreciate you allowing me to share that there, because I want everybody who's listening this to realize that there isn't one modality that fits all. The thing, and the reason why I bring on someone like Phil, who's just got incredible knowledge to share with us about all these techniques, doing them in nature, it's going to even escalate them even more. And finding yourself working with someone like him or Radhavir from last week, or some of the other practitioners we've had on, to help you get closer to that place of, like in the story that I read to you guys earlier, and I was very intentional why I picked that story, whether you're under 40 or you're in your 60s or 80s, is, you know, we can regress when we go backwards, or we can go back and we can learn and we can grow from it. But sometimes it takes some extra stimulation to make sure we don't get trapped in who
Right.
we
We
were.
need some insight and healing, some way to do that, some kind of
Right.
method. And that's why we're here. And that's why that point about everyone being traumatized, which a lot of it's really obvious of say abuse, but then there's abandonment. Your parents were imprisoned, divorced, or just had bad boundaries and didn't know how to take care of you. You were the little parent, all those things, which are generational, right? That because they weren't taught that way. So we're all affected by that. And that means at some point, we want to heal ourselves of that discomfort. And then we can also help other people too.
Absolutely. Well, you know, with that said, and I love that, because when we help ourselves, we can help other people. And that's really what it comes down to. And anybody who's listening who was on a dose of positivity, I know all of you are loving, caring people, and you're here because you're coming for that dose of love and positivity. So you can go out and help someone who might be suffering with Alzheimer's or dementia or some kind of a physical ailment or chronic disease, or just overwhelm. So Phil, tell us, what do you view as the most important or element in personal and spiritual growth?
Well, one of the things we find with a lot of people that we help is that they're not centered. So the idea of being in this rush and momentum and of course, people have a lot of things if they have to take care of children and they have a job. So there is a lot of things to attend to, but there still is the idea of they have to take care of themselves and be in balance and address things. Or after a while, they just burn out. And that happened to Jane and myself in our own ways, and it does to people. She was working too many hours as an architect years ago, and she just became chronically fatigued, which many people do, adrenal kind of burnout. I was an educator, teacher, and years after that, it just became kind of lost its excitement or interest to me. I was kind of going through the motions, although I enjoyed helping children. So at a certain point, what are you here for? What are you doing all this for? And when you find out that, and there's usually some healing involved, and hopefully you don't get ill or have an accident or an injury, but a lot of times that's what it takes. You address that to go further and deeper, because that's what you're here for. You're here to awaken. And that's kind of an interesting thing. What are you waking up to? What are you waking up from?
Yeah.
So we started off with a lot of just growing up, having experiences, as I said, a lot of trauma. And at a certain point, we use all that, and we realize it's actually part of our soul's plan. If we awaken to that, things that we're here to learn, which means learning, growing, healing, and creating. That's all for that. And that's why we're here.
So how can we use your approach to address some of society's most troubling challenges, like the growing rate of burnout, stress, anxiety, and depression?
Yeah, and which is skyrocketing. So people have a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression. That seems to be growing. And the good part of it is it's making people dissatisfied and hopefully looking beyond just kind of getting by and accepting the status quo, because the status quo really wasn't that good.
Right.
The things that we were accepting, and maybe we weren't, it was kind of like a slow boil, and now it's getting the boil to go into a different state of consciousness. We need to shift. So as was mentioned in our books and our trainings, one of the things we do is a holistic EFT, a tapping process, and we used what we call a holistic version of it. And we also have a healing from the soul. I can kind of combine the two. Maybe we can even do both of them, because I can probably condense it for the short time we have to give people kind of a flavor of this, and actually maybe even a direct experience if they have time to do it, if they're not driving or something, and can follow along.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. Do you think now's a good time to do that? This
Yes.
would be maybe the ultimate time. So everybody who's listening right now, stop driving, pull over, and or turn off any exterior noise or any conversations you might be dual playing right now, because we're all multitasking, we're all overstimulated, and that's part of this chronic stress that we're experiencing. And just make yourself
I'm
present.
going to combine a couple things just to be very efficient with the short time I have with you. So we start with something that's bothering us, and it can be something small. We don't have to start with something I've been in 5 years in therapy for, although you could, but just for sake of an example. So I don't know if you want to take something you have, or someone in the audience, or just to get an example.
What kind of thing now?
Any frustration, any little thing that's throwing you off or throwing someone off, feeling a little bit upset about.
Okay, I if anybody doesn't chime in the chat real quick, then I'll go. All right, anybody gonna go?
Yeah, if anyone wants a little maybe free healing here, or just free help or some assistance, this would be a time to take advantage of it.
Okay, Beverly, hi. Beverly's just coming
Hey,
up.
hi, Beverly. Yeah, nice to meet you. Briefly, what's up?
You have to come off mute, honey.
Yeah, can you unmute? Yeah.
Oh, yes. I have a strained relationship with my younger daughter.
Okay. Okay, without going into all the details of it, let's just pick one little thing to look at, and some of it will generalize into other things. So one little thing that's troublesome about this relationship is, in a sentence or two, is, you're filling in the blank now, Beverly.
She doesn't want to really talk to me, or she's just distanced.
She's
you
distant.
know.
Okay, gotcha. So since this is, and this is a little key here for everyone, and obviously that can be some things she's going through, but what I can maybe help you with, or actually ultimately help you to help yourself with, is you, because we can't really work with your whatever's going on with your daughter's distancing, but we can work with your response or reaction to it, right?
Okay.
Okay, so when she's distant, you're thinking of now maybe one time a little clip of it, like a little video clip that she did blank, and you felt what? Fill in the blank, sent a couple words. I felt blank when she was distant toward me.
I felt sad.
Yes.
Well, a little bit of anger. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, there can be multiple things going on. Okay, so there's sadness and anger. So you're thinking of just one time. We want to really, this will be most effective if you're dealing with healing. And here's some healing tips for people. Deal with one specific thing because it can get a little muddy if you try to go all over the place. Okay, so you're thinking of this one incident, Beverly. You're sad, you're angry about her being distant. Am I right?
Yes.
Gotcha. So sometimes we measure just, and this is a good subjective way of understanding it. If it's 1 out of 10 and 10 is total, how sad in this particular instant? Why are you sad?
Maybe about 6, because I haven't done her anything wrong, but she probably thinks I have. I mean, we used to live together. I have moved, and
okay,
she got married, and I don't know.
That's fine. Let's set that aside. We're just going to deal with the feeling level for now, because I'm being a little bit direct with you because of our time. And basically, we don't need a lot of thinking, which is one of the beauties of this. I mean, those are interesting thoughts and they factor in, but more importantly, you were sad 6 out of 10. Okay, good. And you mentioned anger out of 10. How angry?
About 5.
Okay. Okay, fine. So we're going to now combine the second part of this. This is sort of a multi-dimensional healing that I'm going to do in a very short time. So if you were to imagine that being sad because of the situation sort of put you in the mud, if you kind of sensed or imagined like it was like being in the mud, something of that nature. Can you imagine that, Beverly?
Yes.
Yeah, and everyone listening along, you may have your own version. I mean, they're all things that are stressing us out, so you could fit this into whatever specific. So, okay, so you're in the mud. What's that like for you, Beverly?
I mean, I'm trying to reach out to her, trying to be nice, but she doesn't want to connect.
Right. So we're just staying with you. Remember, we keep staying with you, keep coming back to you because we're healing you. So you're in the mud. And what's that like being in the mud for you?
It makes me feel down. I mean, I'm not as happy.
You're feeling, did you get a picture or mostly just a feeling?
My feeling.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, gotcha. All right, so we'll bring in some of the EFT tapping. That's energy healing. It balances out the meridian systems. Have you ever done EFT before, Beverly?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so it's pretty familiar, and I'm going to add our one part of what we call holistic EFT, which is a further balancing of it. So it's tapping meridians with some affirmation, and you want to make it very targeted to be effective without going into a lot of the details about what works and what doesn't and how deep you can go with EFT and what's most effective. But for now, to put it in your words, Beverly, you are sad about the situation because how would you put it? I'm sad because
I'm sad because we don't have that closeness.
Okay, gotcha.
That I have with her sister.
Gotcha. So the affirmation could be, and using your words, tell me if I'm pretty much, and I like to say, even though part of me, because it's not your soul, as we're going to connect more directly with, even though part of me is sad because I'm not close to my daughter now or in this situation. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I can still love and accept myself. And I know anything is possible and miracles are happening now. I'm going to just add this in, just make a superfood of healing here, so to speak, in the moment. Okay, so the tapping, for those people who aren't familiar, there's a couple of places to start, and these are key acupressure points. One is the side or heel of your hand, is, Beverly, you probably know it because you've done EFT. You're tapping, and you're saying this lock and key affirmation, and the affirmation is very important because that will make a help if you get the right one. Why is it the right one? Because Beverly did it. It's not me. It's not me imposing here's some beautiful affirmations for you, some scripts that I think would work. It's what Beverly told me she felt. So you would say aloud, even though part of me feels sad because I'm not connected with my daughter now, or I'm not close with my daughter at this point. We want to say that?
Even though part of me feels sad because I'm not connected with my daughter, I'm not close with her now.
I know that anything is possible and miracles are happening now. Do you like that?
I know that things are happening now, miracles are possible.
Anything is happening now and miracles are happening now.
Anything is happening now and miracles are happening now.
Is a miracle okay for you? Are you open to miracles?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Okay, so this sounds like the right one for you. Okay, so even though part of me is sad now, I know anything is possible and miracles are happening now. And we're tapping the heel of our hands. These are all pressure points that balance the body that has too much or too little energy due to this particular block, which is affecting a person's soul evolution, and the specifics for Beverly in this case. And if you're doing
We
it,
can all believe in miracles.
specific and
I
up
think
for you.
everybody should be doing this and saying that to themselves. I believe
Yeah,
in
could be helpful. Okay, so we're all going to get a healing and also support Beverly in her healing. And as we're supporting her, it's going to transfer probably in some ways to us and to others and radiate out and put more light and healing into the earth. Okay, so one more time just to get it, even though part of me feels sad, anything is possible and miracles are happening now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to say that?
Even though a part of me feels sad now and anything is possible and miracles are happening.
Excellent. So good. So the key EFT tapping points that are based on meridian points around the whole body, the energy field, which is deeper than the body and it interpenetrates the body in higher dimensions. So we tap the eyebrow point, either or both sides next to the bridge of the nose. You know, this sadness or this issue, we're just addressing it. And tapping the side of the eye, either or both sides, or you can put your finger there. Sometimes there's sensitive points, the sadness. We're just addressing balancing the body with a higher awareness. And then under the eye, there's a bone and in the middle. Some of these points may be a little sensitive, either or both sides. The sadness, you say the sadness, so you're focusing on clearing the energy, right? And then under the nose, there's another point. These are meridians that go through the body. They're key points, this sadness. And then the chin, the middle of the chin, this sadness. And there's a collarbone. You have a bone like a collar under your throat. There's a ridge at the top. It may be sensitive. These are meridians like kidney meridians or people. You don't have to know acupuncture, but they do relate. You're tapping this sadness, right? One more point under the arm, like you're embracing yourself, like, hold, good girl, good boy, kind of holding yourself, tapping the sadness. And the one last thing we like to do for holistic EFT is we call the reset process, which you can do by itself. You tap across the top of the head, so that's balancing your left and right brain, your whole hand, saying, and maybe you could say anything is possible, Beverly.
It's possible.
And breath through the nose and exhale. And then then tap across the heart, integrating all of this into your heart. So you open your heart and integrate at a deeper level for what you are to learn. And miracles are happening now. And breathe through the nose and exhale. And release. Okay. Could we pause to just let things integrate? So and I'm not done yet. This will be a check-in as we're going forward here with this journey with Beverly and all of us. into healing and more unity. So just checking back, Beverly, remember you were in the mud, the feeling a moment ago. What's that like now?
I'm feeling much better, probably about a 7 now. Yeah.
So your sadness is 7?
Yes.
Well, it was 6 before, so that would be higher. Are you sad?
5.
I mean, and that could be too. 'Cause
No, it should be lower.
oh yeah, I mean,
It's
are you
lower.
going, so it 10 is the highest and 0 and 1 is the lowest. So is it, you mean 3? Is that what you meant? You're going down the other way?
Yes, I'm going down. Yes.
What number? Let me get your number then.
4 and
4,
3.
okay. And it
Yes.
can be integrating and shifting as we talk. Okay, because it can. Okay, so we're going to take another step, remember? And this is shifting into what we talk about in the loving power of your soul, the mud, the mountaintop apex process. So I'm combining a couple things as we're doing this, which is
Okay, I'm trying to get down to 0 or 1, right?
you don't have, yeah, the good thing is you don't have to try. So
Okay.
you can let go of trying. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Briefly let
Make it
go
a
of
little
that.
easier, you know. Okay, so we're gonna ascend now. You like ascending to like a high, lofty place where you feel connected with everything. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay, so you sense or imagine, you seem to be more of a sensing person, and that's good too. Or however, people listening, you sense yourself going to a high summit, maybe a mountaintop, a beautiful perch, kind of
Mhm.
at the top of the mountain, the top of the world, where there's this wonderful view,
Yes.
perfect light, perfect temperature, right?
Yes.
So you're there.
Yes, I'm there.
What's it like for you, Beverly?
I feel like I'm more relaxed. I'm looking out. I'm looking at nature. I'm feeling comfortable,
Great.
happy.
So you're in this happy, nature connected with the expansive view, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you said you're very relaxed. Was that right?
Yes.
So from this place, which is really a more soulful, connected place, imagining kind of sending yourself down that energy. And if you had like an image or an energy you want to send back to the old self that was having the challenges, do you want to put it as an image or a symbol or a color? Sometimes that's a kind of a nice way of doing it. Do you have one?
Yes.
What is it?
An image of,
Okay. Of what?
of me crying, or, I'm seeing that.
The old images of you crying.
Crying, yes.
What's the new image, the healing image from atop the mountain?
I'm smiling,
You're smiling.
happy.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're the smiling, happy up in the mountain, right?
Yes.
Would you like to send that down to the old self that was more crying and more in the mud?
Sure.
So you send that wonderful smile with the relaxation, connected with nature, the expansive view, right?
Yes.
Comes back into your old self, which
Yes.
is now becoming your new self, coming out of the cocoon here.
Yes.
What's that like for you now as you're starting to feel more of that smile and that relaxation coming into you now?
The sadness is wearing off, and I feel I can, make a connection now.
You're making a connection, and
Yes.
anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Miracles are happening.
Miracles are happening now. That's wonderful. Okay, so as you're in your new self, your new version of Beverly, new version of all of us, shall we say, as we're all doing this together and supporting Beverly in our own version, our own journey in this moment. What's it like now for the new Beverly as you go forward relating to your daughter and yourself?
I think I can handle it more. I can cope more. I'm not going to be feeling as sad. I've, let that go.
That's great. So you can handle it more, you can cope more. Those are very powerful words. Can you
Yes.
incorporate that smile that you have, that relaxing smile more
Yes.
in your daily
Yes.
life and relating to your daughter or thinking about your daughter?
Yes, I can.
Would that be helpful?
Yes, it would be.
Good. So Very good. So that's going to complete it. Just a real recap in, a fast recap of what did you just do there? And I know I did kind of multiple things, and this isn't, we do write about this in The Loving Power of Your Soul, the new book, for those who kind of want to get details. But what I did there was find out what was going on very specifically in this case with Beverly, about her. Even though it's a relationship with her daughter, you can only heal yourself. You can't heal another person. Although if you're healed, it's going to give the other person a much better chance to improve as well, but no guarantees. You can't control another person, but you can certainly help yourself, which is the good. So we identified it. We did some EFT, energy healing tapping, holistic EFT with the reset process too, tapping the top of the head and the heart. We saw it as a visual or a sensing of being in the mud. We called it the mud, the mountaintop visualization. I connected with it. And then we went atop the mountain, which is another way of connecting with your soul, the higher awareness, the unity, the wholeness, the oneness. And it does connect with nature, as Donna was talking about earlier, talking with nature. And from there, she got some energy, some input, some healing, some imagery, some power of her soul, brought that back into her old self, her old way of being, incorporated it, reframed it, as it's sometimes called, and integrated it. And she can go forward with that and keep remembering it. And as she keeps remembering it and following through with it, it'll become even stronger and more part of the way she goes forward to help herself, her daughter, and everyone.
Beautiful. That was so
Thank you. That was very good, Phil. Thank you very
Good.
much.
I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
was helpful.
I think that was one way of how we can approach life as an amazing adventure, right? And
Yes, life is amazing, and taking charge of your life.
composting what doesn't serve us and nourishing what does. And it's kind of getting back to the story that I read about my 40th high school reunion, and kind of going back in a place like Phil taking you for that ride, Beverly, and all of us, and realizing that we have these techniques available to us, EFT being one of those. And I really appreciated, I know about it and I've done it before, but just doing that and how relaxing that was. And if you all were on, or if you didn't hear, 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Stella Vera Kilcher, who's an Ayurvedic practitioner and Reiki healer. She was amazing and showed us the pranayama breathing. I think you guys all remember, most of you were on that call, and I can just see how just taking 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening and doing both of those techniques, like Beverly, we could all be happier and getting out of the mud into the mountain. Phil, I love how
just going to your own personal mountaintop and hanging out
Yes.
there and having that energy as part of your, say, morning, if you do a meditation, or remembering that, and then it becomes more a part of your everyday life and how you have your days every day.
Yeah, and it's just like letting go of the CNN version of our lives, like you said earlier, and realizing we need to claim we don't need to do anything, first of all, but choosing to reclaim our power and our innate wisdom and becoming more of an indigenous soul, getting our hands in the soil, from the soil to our soul, and reclaiming our sovereignty, emotionally and physically and spiritually. We're going to be part of the healing, part of the positivity movement. And I love this quote that you have on your website. Phil has a beautiful website if you haven't been on there yet. It says, he quotes, life is ripe with opportunities, and it is the moment. And in this moment, your greatest opportunities might be right where you are now. And when you brought us through that whole process, and Beverly, thank you, Beverly, for opening up and sharing and allowing us to put you in the spotlight there, because a lot of times, we get caught up in our own minutia, and when we hear someone else It's his story, and I'm not saying yours is minutia or mine isn't minutia. It's all, a lot of it is just this mud. Who wants to spend the rest of their life in the mud when we can be at the mountaintop?
Well said. Right. I like that.
So I would love to challenge all of us. And, you know, when we show up next week, we have another amazing guest, Nina Simon from The Pioneer, speaking about her new book, and which brings this topic even further and brings us more into the just sovereignty of the soul, of being whole and supporting each other as we go through this sacred journey that we're all on. And if we're in the mud, how are we being part of the solution? SOUL. The way to be in the mud is to look, for me, Phil, and I just had this on when you said mud, you know, I think a lot of people call rich, loamy soil dirt. It's dirty, you're soiled. But the mud, if we can turn that mud image into this fertile, loamy soil, the soil that provides the food, the nourishment that we all, not just humans, all of life kind requires to live on this planet Earth.
Right. You could say if you go to the mountaintop, you can turn the mud into something, you know, useful, or transform it into something that you can use to grow from.
And grow out of and grow up and learn how to balance what you already have, so you have the strength to climb the mountain. It starts right there, you know. And I just really love that whole process. And I really appreciate your view and your spiritual approach. It's so powerful. And, you know, we don't have much time left. And so I'd love you to address that spiritual approach and how you have seen it be such a powerful force for change that is reverberating out into the world. Because right now, that's what we're doing here. That's what is lacking right now, is a lot. And you said something earlier, shaming, like we were shamed when we go woo woo, you know, like we're being shamed if we start talking like this.
Right. I remember a lady who took one of our coaching and healing programs. We have a certification coach healing program. We do it by Zoom now, but we used to do it in our home office, and she was looking at it, and she was having a difficult marriage. She was kind of retired from the corporate career, felt burnt out there, didn't really know what to do with her life. She's probably around 35 or 40 at the time. And she was looking at our course and took our first course. She went to the first class, was a weekend class, was hoping, you know, maybe this is something, but also kind of skeptical and afraid. And, you know, what is this stuff? But she really fell in love with it. And she really was a gifted coach and healer. And a lot of people I know listening are good at coaching and healing, and may have those kind of gifts and nurturing or other services that this would help with. And she just took to it and took our whole one-year program and eventually became a counselor, left a difficult marriage, found someone that she was compatible with, and really had a wonderful life. Actually, even though we're in California, she was from Hawaii. I'm just remembering that's where she was born from, thinking of you. So it was, and those are the kind of stories, if you follow your heart, and that's more than just a nice thing and sounds good. It's actually something you can really do, because if you open your heart, that's, as they say, where your treasure is, right? And the heart and soul is found there. And that'll pretty much serve you pretty good every time. I mean, get some outside validation, some outside resources, connect with people, maybe do some individual help or training, but ultimately follow your heart. And connect with some other like-minded, heart-centered people too.
Yeah, that is the thing. What we focus on grows, right? So when we're around those nurturing, supportive people like we are here, and we show up every week for a dose of positivity, people are making friends and contact, and ditch the energy vampires and focus in on turning that mud into rich loamy soil and climb that mountain and have a look down. And Beverly, like I just love for all those some people new coming on and not hearing her story is like. It's so powerful. Every single one of us, I am sure, has a relationship that they wish they could heal.
Right.
There's not one of us out there, and whether it's my brothers or your sisters or your mother or your daughter, and just remember that you can get a blood transfusion, but you can't live without water. And we are water for each other here. We're holding each other up. We're holding each other to be buoyant and loving and accountable. And we're here to support each other. And Beverly, just by you being up on the mountaintop like that, and you shining, and you being the brilliant, loving human that you are, your daughter is either it's gonna rub off on her, and she's gonna want to climb the mountain with you, or just take a step back, right, Phil? Take a step back. Don't try so hard. Just be you. Just be vibrant, be loving. And it's like that ripple effect. And sometimes, and I want to share something, you guys. This is kind of like, sometimes what I do, Beverly, and you're going to love this, is I'll find certain things like Phil, what he's doing, and sign her up, not you up, but also sign you up for his mailing list, but her name, her email, you know what it is. Don't do it chronically. She'll figure it out. But places where you, like any one of you guys you are struggling with something, whether someone that you love is in high anxiety. Like if you guys go to our newsletter, there's a whole summit out on anxiety. Sign them up for it. You could sign up for it too. But, you can do these little things, because especially when we're with these loved ones or people that, are counting on us, they don't, it's like a little kid. I'm not going to listen to you, mommy, but they'll listen to their friend's mommy. It goes way back, right, to that childhood stuff. So, there's little things that you can do. You never have to tell them. You wouldn't believe the things I've sent my son. And I think that some of those resources are why he is who he is. And he'll come back to me and he'll say, Mom, Bob, did you know about this? And I'm there, oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. And so, Beverly, I see you smiling. I see a lot of you smiling, and it's really true. There's other ways to reach our loved ones and to make a change and a difference. And that's just one thing I've done.
Right. And as we were saying, it starts with yourself. And to answer your question, Donna, from a few moments ago, how can we help the world in the difficult times we're living through, is just by raising our vibration, spending more time on the mountaintop, and that will radiate out. And if our close relationships, if they one way or another get the message, that's great. If they don't, that's part of the possibilities too. But you've made peace with it. You're done your best, and you're serving the people and connecting with the people who are ready and are open as you move forward.
We all have that opportunity. And one thing, one of our people wrote in the chat, Alan, I just love you. You always come up with the best thing. We don't want to just be too cheesy, like what's happening, say, in the Supreme Court, or homogenized society. Like he says, where's the pepperoni and the mushrooms? We need variety in our lives, right? We need to choosing to have it. Not just blood, just all of us, we all these different perspectives, these different types of modalities, people like Phil in our lives, people like Nina, who's coming on next week. So with the last few minutes before we go, and please put the 33 Conscious Cures link. Some of you have seen that, and we'll also put it in the YouTube and the podcast replay. It comes out of one of my books, Conscious Cures. I'll just show you the cover, Solutions to 21st Century. And we're going to send you our free guide with 33 conscious ways of how to get through these cheesy times we're in. Thank you, Alan. So I really want to make sure that everybody's listening to this. We're always leaving you with tools and better ways to become better humans and to create that ripple effect in a much more magnitude to the positive light and direction. So Phil, if any closing words for all of us, and tell us about your institute or your book or anything you'd like.
Right.
share.
I had a free gift I wanted to share with people who are interested, like this approach that I'm sharing today. It's a spiritual healing gift, a free download, a gift, and it's at tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit. It's a shortened URL for easy remembering, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit. And that has an excerpt of our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul. It has a holistic EFT tapping video and some other spiritual resources I think you'll enjoy, and that's a free gift.
Oh, that is so great. Yeah, and we put that in the chat. So you guys go ahead and copy the chat, or you can find it on our private Facebook group page, which we'll put in the chat as well. And also we'll have all of the links to how people can get in touch with you, Phil, and your wife. And I encourage you all to pick up his new book and check out his website and take advantage of this generous free gift he has offered us. And I want to thank you all for coming here to this episode of a Dose of Positivity, and much gratitude to you, Phil, for all the work you're doing, for all the love and energy that you have been bringing to the world, this love and light energy to thousands of people around the world. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your precious day and share this with a Dose of Positivity and all of us here. So with no further ado.
Thank you, Donna. Mahalo.
Mahalo to you and everybody on the call. If you want to stick around for a windy garden tour, we will take you out, and we are going to take it off record right now. And big love and aloha to all of you beautiful stewards from the soil to the soul. Big love.